younger PTs who have no concept of the business. And I think this is kind of this divide we have. Is that
Yeah.
obviously we want to have a seat at the table. We have the doctorate degree now. We want to be treated as such. And then we have this concept of, the overhead and how it's actually the margins are a lot thinner than you think, even if you're seeing a fair amount of patients, unless you're seeing a ton.
Well, yeah. So this is an interesting topic, actually, because on paper, most therapy practices, especially the ones that accept insurance, on paper, they're probably profitable to the tune of like 20-25% on paper. And then the reason it sort of just gets whittled away, just to oversimplify it, is because all those little inefficiencies in the reimbursement process, all those little details, like what you just said, like, hey, why'd this get kicked back? It's like each of those little things on their own is probably like a couple bucks here and there. But then when you zoom out and you look at the month's revenue and you're like, what happened? Why am I in a single digit percentage or whatever? It's not for lack of effort. It's the leakage that
Yes.
occurs. But I have this theory that the payments infrastructure of PTOT and speech, and frankly of broader healthcare practices, but the payments infrastructure for like small to mid-sized practices like you guys, I think that payments infrastructure in 2024 looks a lot like the broader technology industry 30 years ago. I think people forget, like, today you and I can open up CNN or whichever news site you want, and we can see like a live ticker of what the New York Stock Exchange values are. But people forget that, like, up until the late 80s, the market would shut down on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays because somebody had to process all the paper. And that inefficiency made for a lot of like middlemen that made a lot of money. But it also blocked out a lot of like smaller traders. Anyway, I don't think it'll take 30 years for this industry to get caught up, but I don't think it's going to take more than like 7.
I hope so. I mean, it would be nice. I think we have just kind of a little bit of an identity crisis where we're just not we can't prove that we are as effective as we should be. And sometimes I think that's sometimes where we're in this fight. You can go to any APTA conference and know that. Just we're just in this fight with proving our efficacy and why we should be paid and reimbursed more and stuff like that. So
Yeah, this is really interesting too, because and again, I'm probably talking above my pay grade here, but I had a very direct conversation with somebody the other day, and I said, like, okay, every practice owner tells me, like, they're getting, they're like everybody will be like, oh, Medicare just cut it 3%, or it's going to be 0 this month, and then with RVUs it's still going to be a cut, and it's like, I was talking to somebody yesterday actually, and I was like, just shoot it to me straight. Do I need to go get like to prove efficacy? Everybody tells me we got to prove efficacy. And I said to this person yesterday, I said, do I need to like go get 100 practice owners in our client base and say, give me this particular set of data and our collective power of data will give us the ability to prove this efficacy? And she goes, no, why do you think you have to do that? I was like, because I don't know what you people are saying. Everybody keeps saying it to prove efficacy. She's like, no, that's not how like the big ACOs do it. And I'm like, okay, well, talk to me like a second grader. And she's like, they just basically go buy some Medicare data from a VDRC. I was like, well, hang on, what is that? I'm writing this down. And she's like, yeah, you get all this data from these repositories, and then you put an analyst on it, and you say, okay, here's some data to show that patients that saw real Medicare data that's been anonymized and all that stuff. She's like, yeah, you just then pay an analyst to go in there and try to find some correlation between, hey, here's a subset of the population that saw outpatient PT first, and look at like now compare that against the people that went to their primary care physician first, and here's how it's better. And I was like, oh, so you're just telling me we need one company, maybe even like us, to just sponsor that? And she's like, yeah, that's all it takes. And I was like, why didn't we just say that? That's what we should say.
right.
If you'd like to learn more about Strata PT and see how our EMR and RCM works, head over to stratapt.com to book a demo.